Then we have next the speech by His Excellency, the Governor of Tamil Nadu, Sri Ravindra Narayan Ravi. Please join me in welcoming, sir, for your vision for the Northeast India. Would you please allow us to have you here? We're honored to have you. Thank you.
Professor V. Kamakoti, Director of this institute, playing host. Thiru Nirpain Barali, who is the Director, Center for Social Responsibility and Leadership. Dr. Krishna Malakar, Thiru Wapang Toshi, my dear young friends from Northeast, and other esteemed invitees. I must say, I am quite delighted to be at this event. I would like to thank the organizers, the Student Association for Development of India's Northeast region, for taking the initiative to bring about transformative changes in the Northeast region. Because I do believe that the transformation can be brought about only by the youth. And I would also like to add that it is the time today. Today is the time when we can bring about the transformation. Transformation is happening. It's not that it's not happening. A lot of revolutionary transformations are happening in the region. Ever since 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi came on the scene, there has been a fundamental shift. You see the number, the speed at which the highways have been. The way the national highways, the state highways have been extended, the entire network, beautiful. You drive at over 100 kilometer speed. Yes, there are pockets where still it is to be covered, but extensive. Number of airports have multiplied, almost doubled. 8 new airports have come up in the last 10 years. 8 new airports. I remember in 2012, while I was in service, one of my officers from Andhra Pradesh, Vijayawada, he was serving in one of the region in the Northeast. His son met with an accident and he could reach home only the 3rd day to see the dead body. Today, it is not so. We fly to Guwahati every day, we have flight. Fly to Imphal, fly to all the places. So the connectivity has gone, phenomenally improved. Digital infrastructure, it has reached extensively. I remember in 2008, when a chief minister of the largest state of the region came to Mumbai to invite the investors. With a lot of effort, he could organize some people to come for the meeting in Mumbai. And when the investor said, yes, Mr. Chief Minister, it is okay, but when we come to Guwahati, where do we stay? There was no decent hotel to stay just 10 years back. Today you have 5-star hotels all around. Look at the number of bridges which have come over Brahmaputra. All these transformations have been happening at a speed and a scale that we need to grasp the significance of it. When I say that today is the time, because the fundamental shift that happened after Prime Minister Modi came was fundamental shift in the way we looked at the region. You know, for a very long time, the Northeast region has been looked at a way that has created so much of problem for the people of the region. The region has been traumatized for almost over 250 years. I heard the president of the association organizing this, that there are 220 tribal groups, community in the Northeast region. Maybe I don't know what is his age, maybe I've been in the area for over 30 years. From where did we get this 220? It is written in a book somewhere, somebody has said 220, it goes on. If I said 2,000, even then that is valid. Because if you start looking at communities by distinct markers, then every tribe which you call it has got multiple sub-tribes and they have their own uniqueness. For example, let us say one Konyak tribe. When I say Konyak Naga tribe in the eastern towards the Burma border, I was under the impression initially the Konyak would be one homogeneous. When I got closer to them, they had 29 and they're all different. So when you say 220, it doesn't make a sense. It only carries on a narrative. We saw the attire display, beautiful attire. But I know the friends from the Northeast would know that it is not even 1% of variations that we have in the region. Not even 1%. There is so much of diversity, so much of richness. But the region has been hugely traumatized for over 250 years. Right from 1765. It is important to know the background because the ecosystem that has been created, and that ecosystem is so deeply entrenched, it has created its own vested interest. Vested interest in politics, political parties, vested interest in business communities, vested interest in academia. They have been hundreds and hundreds of countless number of PhDs sustaining those very narratives which were created by the people, those who traumatized the region. Before the British came and took over Bengal in 1765, after the Battle of Plassey, when finally they consolidated 10 years later in 1765, they completely disconnected the whole region with the rest of the country. Up until then, people of the region were moving about. We know that you have a large number of people in the region, those whose origins can be traced, and it is not difficult, from the rest of the country. Not a small number, huge number. People have been moving for thousands and thousands of years. People from the hills and the plains, they have been living like a family. In fact, today, when you say this to some people, it looks like a stranger, as if, what is that you're talking? It's not long back. When 1765, when they disconnected the region with the rest of the country and they took over Bengal, for them, Bengal was their country, it became. And the Northeast was a foreign country for them. Gradually, they started moving towards the Northeast. We don't go into the detailed history, but the fact is that they started moving eastward. They started capturing territory. And when they found possibility of tea in Assam, what they did, they acquired almost 6 lakhs hectares of land on the foothills of Assam. With whether what we call it Arunachal today, what we call it Nagaland today, or Meghalaya, all the foothills, because those areas were rich most suitable for tea cultivation. They were here to exploit. And they found initially when they captured the area, they wanted to keep the Burmese away, because Burmese were also an imperial power at that point of time. But when they found tea, and tea was the most precious, one of the most precious resources at the time. The tea stock, China was the dominant market. And when the company, East India Company, later British, when they realized that they can have tea here in Assam, then they captured this area, about 6 lakhs hectare. And having captured the area, they created inner line permit system, 1873, that people of the hill, because people of the hill and the plain, they used to meet, interact, intermingle. The system was called Mangai. It is all documented by researchers from the Northeast. It is not that I am saying. Mangai was the system by which every person in the hill, those used to come, economy was not monetized, it was barter. They used to bring things, give it, and pick up things what they needed. And when they used to come for the weekly hart, whatever is unsold, they leave it with a family in the plains. And with that family, they had generational relations. They had matrimonial relations. But once they captured this area, 6 lakhs, entire foothills, and they said, no, this area is banned. You can't enter, this is for tea. The people started, they felt uncomfortable. They started protesting it, resisting it. The violence began. And then they put this inner line in 1873 that nobody from the plain should go to the hills. First, they disconnected the entire region from the rest of the country. Subsequently, by putting the inner line, they disconnected the hills with the plains, and the neighbors became strangers. And then they started telling them stories, all kinds of stories. Essentially, it was for exploitation. And then, when they realized the further potential for further exploitation, the plains of Assam, which was very sparsely populated but very, very rich, fertile land, entire Brahmaputra Valley, very fertile land, but very sparse population. If you go by the first census of Assam, and when we say Assam at the time, most of the hills were also part of it. A population in 1829 was hardly 9 lakhs, not even a million. But at the beginning of the 20th century, while they had, when they captured this area, all the foothills, they wanted labor. And then they brought nearly 500,000 slaves, like slaves they took from the central India, what we call the tea garden people. They were taken from present-day Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh area. There was slave trade. It is all documented. How the people were induced, kidnapped, and taken. There used to be slave market, and the buyers from the tea garden owners, they would come and fix the price. They were stripped naked, and they used to see the teeth, whether the person is healthy or not, whether the age is a productive age or not, what will be the productivity of the person. Then they used to fix the price, 5 rupees, 6 rupees, 7 rupees. That is how they used. But they brought about 500,000 people as a worker. That was a huge influx of people from outside. But they remained confined largely to the tea garden areas. But later on, in the beginning of the 20th century, when they found the plains of Assam so fertile, then they started bringing people from East Bengal. And between 1910 and 1940, almost 30% of Assam population, almost what it was brought. Millions of people were brought as to come occupy the land, cultivate, and you give us the revenue. And that is how it's illegal immigration, what we call later now, after independence. This was the beginning. So reason was, not only Assam, even what we call Meghalaya also, a lot of came in the coal mines and all. Large influx from people from outside. It created a lot of imbalance, social imbalance, a lot of problems. And after the British left, unfortunately, government after independence continued looking at the region. They carried the legacy of the British. They continued looking at the region as the British looked, as if they were a other country. They were not a part of us. There were numerous correspondence between then Prime Minister and the Chief Minister of Assam, showing that, look, people are different. We must try to win their hearts. No, the fact that you started looking at them differently, whereas before the British came, there was so much of mixing and mingling with the rest of the country. We know, our friends from Assam will bear with now, that in 15th century when Mahapurush Shankardev, at the age of 30, he traveled from Kamrup to Rameswaram, then to Kanchipuram, then to Kashi, and then he went back. And his first composition was Dhanya Dhanya Bharat Bhumi. That was his first composition. Numerous stories. I tell you, I don't know whether we have any, these people from Idu Mismi tribe. Idu Mismis of Arunachal. One night I was halting at the house, at the village chief. And I found that Idu Mismis, they have a tradition of keeping the tuft, chutia. And when I asked, what is this? And then he explained me. The story that he told was that it is our tradition. Because Rukmini, wife of Sri Krishna, was our daughter. And he narrated the whole story, which led to this tuft. Now, when did this story reach the people of Idu Mismi tribe? Similar stories are all around. But the British told us they are different. They kept objectifying the people, marking them by giving them broad levels. And the areas which they did not, which was not productive for them, especially the hill region, because there was no tea there. Tea they had only in the plains. So they called it unadministered. They created the myth. For them it was unadministered. But independent India continued looking at the region from that very perspective. It was documented. And who was the person who framed the policy, the tribal policy of the Northeast, which is the Government of India policy? Again, a British. After independence, very irrelevant. He said, don't touch them. They are innocent savages of Rusho. Not let them live according to their own way. Before that, when the national freedom movement started and devolution of power to the local people began, in 1919 was the beginning, first reform that happened, they called it reform. They kept the entire hill region out, saying that, no, they should not be touched. You know, before the British came, we didn't have police station, we didn't have block, we didn't have district, all taluks, these are all creation of the British. People had their way of governance. But when that way of governance began in the rest of the country, the British kept the region away. When 1929, when the Simon Commission came and when they started talking about what more devolution can be done to the local, and which was subsequently translated into Government of India Act 1935, again they kept that region completely off. And who drafted? I tell my Naga friends, when the Naga Club gave the memorandum to the British, then the Simon, to keep the region away, who drafted that memorandum? It was drafted by Hutton, who was the district collector of Naga Hill district. It was their design that even if India becomes independence, keep the hill region of India and Burma as a crown colony. Today they say that Naga Club gave this memorandum. Where was Naga Club after 1918? After the First World War, when those people who have been taken as as a labor corps. When they returned, they had formed there in Paris. After that, it was dead, defunct. But Hutton, the British deputy collector, he maliciously, to fulfill the design of separating the region, he revived that on paper and made some people sign and drafted the memorandum and gave it. These are all documents. It's not something which is hidden. So that continued even post-British. The problem that the people of the region faced was largely from illegal immigration from East Pakistan and subsequently Bangladesh. When the Assam started, Assam revolted. They wanted relief. What then the ruling government did? They adopted a politics of Ali and Coolie, pure and simple power politics. Divide and rule. Ali, they called them migrants from Bengal, that is Bangladesh, and Coolie, they call them tea garden workers. You keep them with you and you will always be in power. And to satisfy, and when the people of native people, all, when they revolted against the illegal migration from Bangladesh, what the government did, central government as well as the state government put together, they came up with an act, IMDT Act, Illegal Migrant Determination Tribunal Act, which made it difficult for people to point out, suppose if I know that here is an illegal sort of immigrant, if I go and complain it, I have to deposit money. Only then their complaint will be registered. I will be fined if it is not proved. And subsequently it led to Assam Accord. And what happened happened thereafter? In Assam Accord itself was such a ill-crafted document that all the subsequent problems started. That led to first Bodo insurgency. They said, no, if this is what Assam Accord is, you are not addressing the problem of illegal migrants. Because Bodos were one who were victims of it, largely the most victims of it. So Bodo insurgency began. And in 90s, when the election came, then the ruling government of the state, they created half a dozen community-based development council. Rawa Council, Tiwa Council, Missing Council, all the councils they created. Now, it was Northeast region was a melting pot like any other part of the country. People were mingling. But when in a particular area, when you create a community-based, only for one community a development council, rest of the people, they feel like a second-class citizen. And that created a cycle of revolt. Assam is a state with a distinction of having almost 24 ethnic community-based councils. They kept dividing. And I was surprised in 2006, near Jorhat, there is a small community, Tengal Kachari. They were not even aware of. They didn't ask for it. But then Chief Minister, who was contesting from that constituency, he was very insecure of anti-incumbency. He created a council for Bengal Kachari. I am giving you a council. You have it. Creating new identities that divided, vivisected the region. And whole lot of all the experts, people from the academia, NGOs and all funded from the within and from outside, they started fueling that narrative that people are different. Diversity, my friends, is a character of our country. Diversity is not necessarily difference. You look at any tree, it has millions of leaves. No two leaves are alike. Look at a flower. It has hundreds of petals. No two petals are exactly alike. Human body, if I look at my finger and only find out the differences, uniqueness of my finger will look as if it is not part of my body. Is it the way to look at it? We continued looking at it, and the reason went into the vortex of violence. And so much so that 2008, during the UPA government, second Administrative Reform Commission was constituted. And the second Administrative Reform Commission, in its report mentions violence is inherent in the Northeast region. I would like to ask those friends, those who drafted it, and those who government accepted the report, that where were these people before 1947? They lived happily with each other. There was no fight. There is no record of fight between the ethnic communities, one community fighting the other. There was no homeland concept, this is my home, this is your home. This whole entire society was based on the village. Each village has its own identity, its own administration. But the violence that began, largely sown by the policies of government, which was the follow-up of the British policy, divide and rule, it practically put the region into fire. Until 2013-14, almost 1,000 people used to die in this region. 1,000. Many of my young friends, those who are in the early 20s, they may not recall because 10 years, 12 years is a long period. 1,000 people used to die every year because they first create the government would create the problem first and then try to find a solution. In the process, they will create more problem. And they kept ruling, they kept dividing the people. There was a sense all over. The Northeast is a dangerous area. Don't go to Northeast. Investors started running, they didn't even look at it. We kept romanticizing the region. The region is so beautiful. But we kept punishing the region also. We created a Northeast industrial policy during those days, but didn't create the enabling environment. Investors didn't come because they didn't feel safe. Young people started migrating from the villages and coming, doing menial jobs. In somewhere garage, somewhere security person, somewhere something. There are villages, my friends, villages I have visited, where they have stopped having they had stopped, not now, things are better now, much better. They had stopped having the village festivals because entire youth population of the village had left for livelihood somewhere else in the rest of the country. They had devastated the region. But what happened in 2014? 2014, when Prime Minister Modi came, they said, no. You are us. There is no question of treating you as if you are different. You are not different. You are us. Sabka saath, sabka vikas. All-inclusive development. Not based on caste, not based on ethnicity, not based on religion. And then, the homeland demand politics, it became irrelevant. Insurgent organizations, those who have started running their business, and there was an alphabet, alphabet soup of alphabet. You start from A to Z, you will have by every name there, every letter you have a militant organization there. They have all disappeared by and large. Some of them are going to die natural death shortly. It has all become irrelevant today. Today there is no question of any discussion on homeland or any discussion of separatism or separation. We are all inclusive in Bharat. India is one. We are all members of one family. And this firm policy, it has brought down from 1,000 people used to die every year. Now it has come to double digit, that to the lower end. You hardly, today Northeast is a story of happiness, prosperity. Today if you go and visit, and I urge my friends to visit, those who are not from Northeast, you go and visit and see how things are, see the position of electricity, see the position of communication, see the institutions coming up. Now today we are having a semiconductor industry coming in Assam, in the region. All this transformation has happened in the last 10 years. And it has created so much opportunities. So much opportunities that Northeast can be a model for the rest of the country. For a very long time, we kept looking at a strategic concern. You have China, you have Pakistan or Bangladesh. As a result, the people were not the center of attention, either the military or the militants, or the politics of dividing the people into the communities. Today we don't talk about a strategic concern that you said about we have about 5 countries. I don't know, I've even forgotten which all countries are there. It is irrelevant today. We are people-centric. Governance is people-centric. Look at the reason from the perspective of the people. That is why one of the first things that Prime Minister Modi did, he said every minister must visit the region and spend at least a whole one night once a week. Ministers started visiting. They started monitoring. Development started happening. It took some time initially, but it is visible now. You see all around. You may have some incident here and there, very minor. But generally, the story of Northeast is a story of happiness and progress. A new Northeast is emerging. A Northeast which can be an engine of growth for this country. This region has the finest of human resources, finest of human resources. And I say with total conviction. Human resources not only in terms of sports, which of course they are, not only in terms of art and music, but in terms of creativity. Today, Northeast is dominating India's hospitality sector. We know it. This airline sector, if you see, you travel in an airline and you see there is a fair chance that you have a large number of people, stewards are from Northeast. Besides that, there is a lot of talent, a lot of creativity. So human resources are the finest. Natural resources are enormous, enormous. Situation is conducive because there is no talk of violence, secessionism, there is no talk of homeland. There is peace that is prevailing. Investors are coming. Infrastructures have come up, are further coming up. It is the time to seize this opportunity and build it. And it will be built by people, young people from the region. Don't expect others to come and do it. You do it. You take control. Today the capital is available. Today you have intellectual and natural resources. You have capital. You know the know-how. You can build it. You have connectivity. You have the market access. You can create it. In our state, Tamil Nadu, 2 months back I did a study. We have 1,50,00,000 people, more than 1,50,00,000 who have taken Mudra loan. You know Mudra loan, what it is, collateral free 10 lakhs rupees. Now it has gone to 20 lakhs rupees. You can take that money without collateral, without security. We have 1,50,00,000 people in our state, Tamil Nadu, who have availed themselves of this loan. And nearly half of them are women. And I have visited the rural areas. I have seen what wonders they are doing. Women, village women, how taking this collateral-free loan, the money, they have started a small micro business. And not only they are sustaining themselves, their families, but not only that, they have got dignity to them because they are earning money. They are also giving employment to people. This is a new story. Now this is available there also. And then I would urge our young friends to be an entrepreneur, go and start working there. You complete your study and go. If you keep listening to others, the old story, because the stereotype which has been created over such a long time, that ecosystem and stereotype is not yet dead. They are very much alive. They will continue perpetuating the story, telling you the story of sadness, depression, despair. Because that's the vested interest. That is how they have earned their livelihood. There is a whole business of talking about Northeast and making your life good, personal life. You make the change. You are the one who can transform the region. If you have traveled from Northeast to Chennai, now I don't think I would say it is a long distance. There was a time when we used to call it a long distance. It is no longer the case. I think it is incumbent upon you that your takeaway should be that yes, after I complete my study, get my degree, diploma, whatever it is, I will go back and start a business there. Be an entrepreneur. Every field, you name a field. It's not only horticulture and agriculture. A lot of, even the modern technology-based industries, you can create that. Do that. And that is what. In the last 10 years, region has become peaceful. Region is now prospering. The story from despair to hope. We have moved into that. We have to now leapfrog. Because we cannot afford to continue moving incrementally. We have suffered, we have lost a lot of time. Our country has lost a lot of time. The country today is moving at a much faster pace. Our economy is the fastest growing economy in the world. Our startup ecosystem is the fastest expanding startup ecosystem in the world. In every field, we are doing wonders. There is no reason why the Northeast can be left behind. It is not. It is moving forward. But I would like to move it forward at a faster pace. And this responsibility lies on young men and women from the region. It is you who have to take the courage. Yes, start it. And this is the time, my friend, this is the time. You become the builder of the region and builder of the nation. The nation has a resolve that in the next 2.5 decades, India has to be a fully developed nation. And this fully developed nation, in this, the engine of growth, the Northeast can be that. It is emerging. Give it a push. Go back. Start. Tell the good stories which are coming up from the region. For long, people have prospered on its sad stories, the bad stories. No, it is time for us to share the good story of the region. And every region, every part of the Northeast region has plenty of good stories to share. Positive story. Do that. And that should be, I would urge, that should be the takeaway from the summit. I would once again thank the organizers for organizing, bringing the students, doing the brainstorming, sharing their thoughts and ideas. Takeaway should be, go back, translate some of these on the ground, do it. I wish this conference, this summit, all the very best. Friends, thank you very much. Jai Bharat.